Today we're going to talk about why you should be a Copilot agent boss. We're going to talk about what a frontier firm is and isn't, and all sorts of wins we're seeing with customers out there. Let's do it.
Grant, how goes it?
Justin,
it's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah, I was out of the office doing some stuff with the family, doing some personal stuff, but I am back and excited to have this chat with you and catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been a few months. You went on the much vaunted Microsoft sabbatical. I'm excited to have mine next year, and hopefully you spent some time not talking about artificial intelligence, but I'm sure it wasn't far from your mind, despite your best efforts.
Yeah, you know what? I talked less about artificial intelligence. I definitely used it more than ever, maybe for my, not only for planning my trip, but also just for my personal needs, like investments and financial planning and all those things on the list that I never have time to do when I'm at my day job. So did a lot of really cool stuff and learned a lot of lessons. So I feel like I'm not coming to work after a 2-month leave. I feel like I kept the axe sharp and hit the ground running. So what about you? What have you been up to for the last 2 months? Kind of new org, new you
so
at work?
It's been exciting, right? I think we're about, at work, we're probably in the final inning or so of our first quarter, right? Q1 concludes at the end of September. I've got a big team meeting. We're all flying in to sort of talk about the year ahead and how we're going to be successful tomorrow. I've been doing a lot of travel, a lot of customer travel. I think I've traveled every week this month, except for this week, to go see customers. Last week I was in New York City, which was super exciting. I had an opportunity to deliver what we at Microsoft call a frontier firm type of discussion to a large number of executives at a customer of mine, right, from all different types of lines of businesses. They brought all these folks together, and love to talk about that.
Can you just define what frontier firm means to the audience that might not know what that is?
Yes. So it's not just some Microsoft fake word, right? This is something that is a term that is really just rocketing around business schools, consulting firms, tech companies, obviously. But a frontier firm is really sort of, it's a company that is melding, combining human judgment with AI agents seamlessly, right? So it's sort of like, you've got your human employee and you've got your AI agents that are working as a team. And so frontier firms are seamlessly having these teams form, get created. Maybe they're it's not just simply using AI to draft an email. It's not just using AI to like answer a question. It's using AI agents in conjunction with human employees to do stuff, to make decisions, to take action. And so a frontier firm is a company that is doing this at scale, right? They're not just doing it in like their procurement department. They're not just doing it in legal. They're doing it across multiple lines of business. So and so companies are like, hey, Justin, Microsoft, what's your guys' perspective on becoming an AI frontier firm? How do we do that? What's it look like? Why should we care? So
yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. When I came back to Microsoft after 8 weeks, it was really interesting to see the ramping up of enthusiasm and companies embracing that whole frontier firm thing for their own businesses. So it's like you said, it's less about like, hey, how do I use AI in Word to draft a document? It's more about, hey, how do I create an agent that's going to seamlessly fit in to my business and make everyone's life easier, and to create this new revenue stream, and to just go out and do all these things that were promised a few years ago. So now it's finally starting to happen. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. If you'd like, I can definitely sort of talk about that at length. I mean, while I was delivering this speech to this customer, I was thinking about our own within Microsoft, our journey to this, and how like it just sort of felt like it sort of happened a little bit overnight in a lot of ways, like
For us?
becoming, yes, for us. So
Oh, yeah.
I would say that, I mean, I'm sure there's been a master plan somewhere, but I can just tell you over the last 45 days, so many organic Copilot agents have just shown up on my doorstep from employees who've created them, because they've seen a need, and they're like, "Oh, Justin, that weekly email that you send out to our team every week. Hey, here's a super easy agent I just created that'll automate creating that email for you, and it'll pull in the data and it'll create it for you." Like that just happened last week, and so and you can see it in obviously more higher profile use cases across our own company, and so it's sort of like happening, bottom up from us becoming a frontier firm, as well.
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
as I don't know, it's one thing to be prescriptive and talk to companies about the journey, and then one of the points I made to them is like, look, it's almost like you'll know it when you see it in your own company,
Yeah.
right? But your role is to chart a path, take down blockers that typically distract or prevent your own employees from becoming a frontier employee, right?
Right.
And
you were talking
yeah.
to senior leadership, right?
Yeah.
From across the business line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was, which was exciting, right? And the people I was talking to, like, they're not like tech people, right? These were like, an HR leader, a sales operations VP, a leader in charge of some of their own consumer products and their B2B products, a sales leader, right? There were tech people in the room, but these are folks who are like, they were genuinely curious, like, hey, what can an AI agent do that would really add value to my organization? And so I think that the number one thing I tried to tell them is like stories about what it's done, what I've seen and what I've seen other companies do, right? Like, hey, like, wouldn't it be awesome if you had an ability to talk to an agent and tell the AI agent what your most recent expenses were, and then you just tell it, and then it just files the expense report for you? I'm like, that's something that we're doing right now, right? Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah, we've reinvented a lot of the tools internally, to your point, and I know that like next week or maybe even this week, our new review tool, our employee review tool, is launching, and it's got AI built right in. It's got Copilot built right in. Whereas last year we were sort of hobbling AI together to draft and respond and to build these, we call them connects. And so it was a whole convoluted process, but now as part of that frontier effort internally, we're able to have that now be a reinvented tool and process. So
it's amazing, right? And I think where leaders start to struggle sort of intellectually is when they hear phrases like, okay, when you're a frontier firm, every employee is an agent boss. Like, okay, like what does that really mean? I'm like, I mean, all that means is they know which agents to use, or maybe they're having them automatically run to make their lives easier, right? And the other thing that I think a lot of leaders are struggling with, sort of trying to conceptualize, is, okay, like, how do we task organize? If I can have an employee like Justin, let's say Justin's not in finance, but suddenly he has a bot that makes him pretty good at analyzing financial data. Can we now take Justin from our HR department and have him help out on like a cross-disciplinary effort in the finance department? And the answer is yes, because now some of that specialized skills are at my disposal. So companies are looking at, like, how do they reorganize themselves for outcomes, not just based off of business functions.
Right.
And
yeah, because if you think about it, it's so easy. It's so easy to amplify a best practice prompt or a best practice AI pattern using agents, and that's really what it is. It's not anything magical. It's just amplifying something through the magic of having an agent. And the
Yeah.
challenge is to make sure that you're doing it in a way that makes sense for your enterprise IT and security, and that
Ah,
your employees aren't bringing their own
yes.
tools, which continues to be a big
Totally.
issue. It's like the new shadow IT.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a study that just came out. It's all over the internet. I'm sure everybody here has heard it and talked about it, right? The MIT study came out, I think, a few weeks ago. And the headline clickbait is 95% of Gen AI projects are failing in large organizations, right? But the sub bullet was also that 90% of employees are bringing their own AI tools to work,
Yeah.
right? Which is amazing, right? Obviously, employees are seeing value, but the risk is that there's no security and governance, right? And that there's they may be serving up insights that are actually inaccurate to their training other people's models on their corporate data, which I'm sure
Yeah.
their company wouldn't want.
Right.
Which then in turn, like that fear of AI, I think is one of the big roadblocks, right, to companies, right? They typically get held up on the governance and security piece of the house, almost unnecessarily. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And to your point about that article that came out, I think
Mm.
there is a little clickbait there, but
yeah,
um, I interpreted it as not that only 25% are successful, it's just 25% are revenue generating. I think that there are a lot of soft costs involved with bringing AI as a frontier firm. Savings, there are soft costs that are being saved. They're not necessarily generating
yeah,
above the line profit, but they are super
dude.
valuable and create efficiencies and all of that stuff. So
What I absolutely love the most is there was an individual in the audience when I was talking to them about frontier firm journey and about why it's important to have a plan and not just to have a plan, but to actually just get these tools in the hands of employees now. And this leader said, he's like, you know what, it's important because it's important for our employees to feel like we're giving them cutting edge stuff, right? Employees take pride in that. They have fun with it.
right.
And it's important for employee retention to know that we're not like a laggard and that we're not some old
Yeah.
school company that doesn't give our
Exactly.
employees, cutting edge stuff. And there was essentially there were claps in the audience when this leader said that. At another point, there was a leader, our sponsor. There was a question from somebody other than him, and the question was, well, who's going to give us this roadmap for how to implement AI and how to become a frontier firm? Like when do we get the answers to the test in terms of like who does what first and what do we have to do and how do we do an adoption and all this? And our sponsor, he like looked at him, he stood up and put the mic to his hand, and he's like, honestly, he's like, that's on us. Nobody's going to hand you the answer to the test. Like Microsoft people here are to show a blueprint, but the answer to the test is on you to figure out now. Like figure out your own adoption that makes sense for you, but we need to move now. We can't wait for some consulting company, he said, or a vendor to tell you what to do. So it was
Totally.
exciting,
Yeah.
man. It was fun.
I
Those types
love
of moments I love doing, right? Like that's the funnest part. Most fun, as the English teacher will say, most fun part of the job, being a customer facing person at Microsoft in my mind.
100%. Yeah. Seeing enthusiastic, not just leaders, but
Yeah.
even the rank and file that, to your point, they want to use the latest and greatest stuff to stay skilled and up to speed and bring their skills to work, especially those new in the workforce. And if you don't give them the native tools, everything is right here and they're going to bring it and they're going to leak your data. But yeah, the point is you have to give them that platform and that way to work the very best that they can. And today that means AI, generative AI.
Speaking of the latest and greatest, is there anything in the news, the top of your mind in terms of the Microsoft AI ecosystem that you've been out for a while, but over the last few weeks, anything come to your mind that you want to sort of highlight for our wonderful listeners here?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that prompt. um, I think that since I left a couple months ago, the biggest new change is just the refreshing of the underlying model in Copilot chat,
Mm,
right? So now we're at GPT-5, and the reason why I say that is because that the instances of like hallucination and
mm,
some of the speed improvements, and like even if I'm say vibe coding something, it's just that much better.
mm.
So looking at all of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, GPT-5. I
the
agree.
specs for GPT-5, they're just so much better, and it means that I've got a much better tool at work, right? So
Yeah,
I think
it's true.
that one's huge.
I think GPT-5, it had some rocky press moments, I guess, at the beginning. But one, I love how we at Microsoft, we had this thing out live in consumer and business Copilot. I feel like it was within like days, or
Right.
for everybody. So that was incredible. Love seeing how fast we were able to integrate it with all of our products.
Yeah,
Huge progress there.
that was a commitment we made months ago to stay in more
Mm,
lockstep with the
yep.
underlying tools that are produced by OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
Because we are
Yeah.
dependent on them today for those models that power
Absolutely.
chat. The other thing is things like Copilot Studio. They just
Mm,
keep getting refreshed and keep getting a little bit better, and so a lot of incremental things. But yeah, I think the fundamental changes are just
yep.
some of those huge improvements that reduce hallucination. I'll
Yeah.
post some of the stats here below in a
Love to
graphic
see it.
so you can
Yeah.
see that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The other big huge, I don't know. Everyone talks about GPT-5. I'm sure this point's been boiled over many times by other podcasts over the last few weeks, but it really speaks to the general trend of GPT-5 does a great job of self-selecting the right level of depth for the question that was asked to it, and that goes to the general trend of AI not requiring the huge prompts. I know you've spoken about this in the past,
yeah,
but prompt engineering as a skill set and as a necessity, I truly believe uh, uh, is becoming less and less important. And is it?
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of GPT-5, to be frank, right? Is you don't need to be absolutely super super. You don't have to select the right agent or the right model. Like I don't have to click deep research. It'll like know, like, hey, this requires a more in depth
Mhm.
answer. I mean,
I think yes and no. I think compared to like GPT-3 to
mm,
GPT-5, 100% better in terms of my prompt engineering skills
yeah,
playing the most pivotal role in the quality of the results I get. But that being said,
mm,
it's still very much garbage in, garbage out. If I tell
mm,
it,
yeah,
draft a legal document
with
for
no
my uncle
guidance.
that died,
Yeah,
it's going to
yeah,
give me some garbage, right?
yeah.
But if I
It's not a mind
say,
reader. It's not a mind
yeah,
reader. Yeah,
give me an estate plan for my uncle in Pennsylvania that died. He has
yeah,
5 heirs,
yeah.
and we want to avoid probate. You know, just the more
Mm,
context, the more specificity, the more role you give it, you're going to
mm,
get an infinitely better answer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think to your point, though, it is a little bit more intuitive. It does a better job predicting what your intent might be.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I feel like when we're talking about things like declarative agents
Mm,
and sharing those best practices across an organization,
mm,
we have the ability to do that a little bit better with this agentic framework.
mm,
And the task specific agents that we can create. So things are better, but they still rely in many cases
mm,
on people understanding how to communicate
mm.
with the
Yeah,
tool.
yeah. Um, Speaking of communicating with the tool, I personally have really liked the voice capabilities that I think are pretty ubiquitous across every major AI platform right now, right? Being able to talk to it on my laptop for work tools, it works really well. Um, and I can just, just in general, voice integration is like really improving global, like for every aspect of technology, right? The new Apple earbuds are super wild.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how real-time translation, works on those, but I think we have that now with Teams as well.
We do, yeah.
So
There's an awesome video that I'll link to here as
yeah,
well, where we go over a live Teams meeting where they're speaking Japanese, and
yeah,
then we switch it to German, and
wow,
we
so
switch to
cool.
English, and it's just completely seamless in real
Wow,
time. So,
that's
I mean,
awesome.
the future
I
is
I just
now.
I love that. I just read a review, an Apple Earbud 3 Pro 3 review that said that it wasn't that seamless and that there's definitely a noticeable lag, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate, but sort of expected, right?
yeah,
But it would make sense that if you're on like a laptop, with far more computing power and
exactly. Yeah,
bandwidth, that you're not relying on a Bluetooth
right.
earbud, that would be better. But
I think it's the early days for the edge computing use cases there. It's obviously a lot easier for us to in a Teams meeting to use
mm,
all of the horsepower in a data center
yeah,
to do that more in real
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that the momentum is certainly going to loading up a model on the edge on whatever device
Hmm.
you're on, and doing that in more real time, even offline soon.
Yeah,
So
it's
pretty
true.
exciting.
Very true. Very true. So Grant, what are you working on right now, that you think that other folks may find interesting?
Oh man, a lot of things this year. I have a lot of legal customers, so maybe not the most interesting thing, but I'm working on a AI and legal workshop
Oh,
to just to help my law firm customers better understand, like, hey, what are the do's and don'ts
mm,
of AI, not just from a tools and technology standpoint, but also from practices, security, and legal compliance. Like, what are
mm,
the
mm.
AI
Yeah.
the AI regulations in the EU
Mm.
are very significant,
I mean,
and
I think it's fascinating, right? Like, if you get an answer from artificial intelligence and you leverage that answer in like a legal document, I think you're still ultimately liable for that opinion, or whatever you wrote, right? If you're a lawyer, um,
100%.
and
This is this
yeah,
is one of the areas where AI does a really bad job. Is
hmm,
um, the legal framework of when you give it a prompt, it will absolutely make up legal precedent, and
that
it'll
actually that
make
actually
up
didn't.
case law. It'll
Yeah,
make up all of this stuff. And
yeah,
so you have to use it with that in mind and be very, very specific, and very kind of, you have to have a plan and the right tools in place, and you have
mm,
to train your users. So
mm,
it's a touchy area. So
mm,
it is interesting, but not in more of
yeah.
a pop culture
Yeah, yeah,
traditional
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I'm sure. The other thing that I think that is interesting too is, you know, when you think about, people who get paid by billing per hour, right? And I don't care what it is, lawyer, whatever. If you're a consultant, if you're paid per, by the hour, and now all of a sudden it takes you far fewer hours to accomplish something because of you're using AI, how do you um how do you keep that from killing your income, right?
Well, I think the answer is that we're able to get those billers, those
Hmm.
people that are billing hundreds or thousands of dollars an hour, to focus more on billing rather
Yeah.
than the, you know, time entry
Hmm.
and anything that's not related to billing, right? We remove those roadblocks and keep them focused, and they can bill more hours. So I think
Yeah.
that's the argument there.
Yeah, or you
So their
charge based off
support
of
staff,
outcomes, or maybe the outcome, right? Like,
yeah,
hey, like we bill based off of the outcome versus the, the amount of time that went into it. I don't know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not a
Well,
problem I personally have, but
yeah,
I've, yeah.
in in um in law, machine learning has been prevalent for the last couple of decades, right? Because it's just so much information is
Mm,
made available in the discovery process
mm,
that there has to be someone,
mm,
something, some intelligence applied
mm,
to this, some machine learning.
mm,
Up until a few years ago we called it, but now it's AI, and
mhm.
it's a lot smarter now with
Yeah.
LLMs. But being able to pull that needle out of a haystack to to assist in an argument or to
Mm,
provide
mm.
evidence is super
Yeah,
powerful
it's
now.
got,
So
yeah, for sure, right? It's yeah, it's no longer just doing pattern recognition. It's being able to sort of we're able to infer based off of that pattern. Well, that's exciting, dude. I'm trying to think of what am I working on of AI relevance. Uh, I think of AI relevance for more broadly, it's really about trying to change that narrative from the MIT study, right? And
uh-huh.
it's really trying to find and help companies um, be much more successful with their AI implementations and their AI strategy. And from my little world within the 40 plus customers that my team and I deal with, I think it really hinges on focusing companies and leaders on the basics, right? What's the business problem or the business opportunity you're trying to solve? And then working back from that to a place of how might AI assist?
Right.
And and then on so focusing on that sort of like a top-down approach, like set a strategy, and then in parallel, you need like don't wait for the book to be written from the leaders. In parallel, you need to start getting these tools in the hands of your employees as fast and as safely as possible,
Mhm.
because the combination of sort of like a bottoms up approach of employee innovation, as well as a top down strategy based high value project, like those two things when they come together is a beautiful thing. But if you just do one without the other, you're going to be in a tough spot. So I think I'm spending just a lot of time working with my employees to ensure that they're able to have this conversation with confidence, and then also whenever I can try to talk to companies and give them some perspective. And I think the one perspective I want them to everybody to know is that they're not alone, right? If you're stuck at governance and you're stuck in fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you're not alone. There are far fewer frontier firms than there are frontier firms.
Yeah.
Um, but it's much better to be in that place where you are a frontier firm than if you're not.
Yeah, for sure. And what I like about the way you run your business at our company, Justin, is
Mm.
that you're running it like a little frontier organization
I
within
try.
this larger
Yeah.
organization that's still a little bit slower than you
Yeah.
are. So you're running fast and breaking things, to use the cliche term, but
Yeah.
I think that's why you're sought after as a speaker,
Yeah.
because
And
you're
I'm
using
experimenting. It's fun
all
to
of the
play with stuff.
tools, and you're always
Yeah.
asking me like, hey, what should I use for this, and should I
Yeah.
do that? And so
Yeah. I
people,
appreciate
we're
that.
all still trying to catch up to you, or
Yeah.
a lot of my
Yeah.
coworkers are trying to catch up to you, so it's
Yeah,
pretty
man.
neat
Well,
to see you.
I appreciate that. I've been blessed with leaders who put up with my my curiosities and desire to try new stuff. And I think, for other folks out there, if you have a manager or a leadership chain that is encouraging you to experiment, you should take full advantage of it. And if you're not sure, ask them like, hey, do you mind if I try this? In terms of anything, but specifically in terms of AI, because it's such it's a tool that can do so many things, and if you don't try it and if you don't try to push the limits, then you'll never really realize its full capabilities. And it's incumbent upon the individual like leaders and IC, individual contributors to figure it out. So, wait, man,
100%.
I feel like I'm pretty good for this podcast. I definitely need to do some screen records. I want to show everybody how I've been using AI to do some pretty cool stuff in terms of both like account research that has been like blowing my mind, and not just like asking a question to a researcher, but like it's like it's a very large prompt, and it creates a full customer conversation complete with like if a customer is thinking this, then pivot this way. If they think that, pivot this way. That has been pretty amazing. So I want to show that, and also I want to tell everybody, Copilot saved me $1,000 with my auto. The company that owns my, I will not say the manufacturer's name. Regardless, I brought my truck in, my truck in to get fixed, and there was an issue with the camera, and they tried to blame the camera issue on an external event, and I said no, it's possibly because of the sealant. They disagreed and said, well, we think it's because of an external event, and I'm like, well, prove it. And they couldn't, but they said, well, we're going to stick to our guns. And so then I used Copilot to research this issue upon and create a well-written response, and to incorporate logical rationale. And it went out, it looked at all the public forums. It was a well-known issue. It cited the other public complaints. It also cited the exact policy within the warranty that said it has to be unambiguously due to an external event, of which this is clearly ambiguous. And I pasted it into the chat with my service advisor. Next thing I know, they agreed, and I no longer had to spend $1,000. So thank you very much.
Nice job, man.
Copilot, there you go.
That's incredible. I have a similar personal experience that is hopefully going to save me a lot of money. I don't know. This one's a little, maybe a little more impactful overall. I fired my investment advisor that's been doing a fine job, but I just wanted a little bit more control over my finances, my investments specifically, because I live in California. I have a dependent. I have a lot of taxes that I have to deal with, and so this all impacts my investments. I didn't feel like I was getting the clarity that I wanted from my investment advisor, so I started off on this experiment. Again, not sure if it's going to be successful. I'm pretty sure it's going to be successful, but I'm using Copilot, and I'm backing it up with some other services too to make sure that they're all kind of reaching the same consensus. But that's my new investment advisor, is having AI kind of analyze
an AI agent, the Grant Earl financial advisor.
Essentially, that's exactly what it's doing. So it's recommending when to harvest tax losses. It's recommending where to move my investments around to tax advantage accounts. So I might be destitute in 6 months. I don't know, but it looks pretty promising. So
that's
I'll
exciting.
have to report back on that one.
I should ask my old man. He's an accountant still. He's been a CPA for many years. I'm curious on what his take is on. I'm sure, and he's also
I think this is one of those use cases where you really have to be careful due to hallucinations and due to the very specific qualities that your prompts have to have in order for it to give you the best possible outcome. In fact, earlier today, I asked it an investment related question, and it made up a name for this one investment that was completely made up. So
wow, you're like so I mean, some of these things are too important to risk a hallucination upon.
This is why I'm doing it in triplicate across several different tools, and the consensus is what I do. most of the time. But
I used it a year ago and it hallucinated on my fantasy football team in terms of what I should do. It stated something about Russell Wilson being on the Seahawks. I'm like, he hasn't been on the Seahawks in years. And you know,
but he
like
was on the Seahawks.
he was at
was.
one point. But it was anyways, it's okay to hallucinate about fantasy football, probably not about your financial future.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Grant, thank you for hanging out with me. Good seeing you. Glad to be back.
As always.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, man. Thanks, Jeff.